Happy Tuesday, Vol Nation. This is Frank, House of Orange Sports Channel. Tennessee baseball back in action tonight against West Georgia, and they get a hard-fought win tonight. These midweek games, sometimes they're absolute blowouts, sometimes they're nail-biters, and tonight was a tough game. It was a tough win for this team tonight. Make sure you hit that like, that share. 5 of you. Hit that subscribe button. 5 away from 3,000. Just 5. It's free. There's no charge. Just hit that subscribe button. There is no cost for that along the way. But really appreciate all your support. Guys, we talk about these midweek games. I've talked about them. There are teams every week, ranked teams losing these midweek games. It happens. It's college baseball. Tennessee, don't be surprised if they lose one at some point. They lost to Lipscomb last year. And, they had some other – that's like last year, what they beat UNC Asheville 2-1. This year they beat them 29-4. So, you never know. They play ETSU later on. I didn't see the final, the ETSU-Georgia game. Last I saw it was 5-3. But ETSU's playing real good baseball. Look like they have probably one of their best teams in years up in Johnson City. Cool to see. Really happy for them. Hopefully they'll keep doing their thing and get to the NCAA tournament this year. But the Vols take care of business. Andrew Fisher gets them on the board with a 2-run home run early. And, man, he was close to doing more damage late in the game. And, you got to give the West Georgia right fielder credit. Fisher hit a ball. At first I thought maybe it was going to be a grand slam. Then you saw it was going to be short, but it was in the gap. I think it had a little too much air on it. If it was a little more on the line, I don't think that guy gets to it. But regardless on it, dude made a heck of a play. Got to give him credit on that one. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap along the way. Looks like it was Widener for West Georgia who made the play. Great play by him. And then it followed up after that. Levi Clark made good contact, but he hit it right at the shortstop. Double play. Tennessee got out of that inning, and what could have been a big inning ends up they only got out of it with 1 run. So that was big. It kept the game close. West Georgia then got a run. I was in and out. Hunley got charged with it. Looks like it was actually an error. Let me see who the errors tonight. See, Bargo had an error. And it looks like Breedlove had an error as well. So I'm going to say that was Bargo who made the error. Again, I missed what I pick it up 5th or 6th inning because of login issues and watching it tonight. I don't like the fact I've sold this ESPN Plus for last year and coming up this year. Now everything's SEC Network Plus. So you have to have a legitimate package to be able to get it. And, in years past, it's been if you had ESPN Plus, you could get it. Now, I don't like that because you can't get ACC games and you can't get SEC games without a login. The ACC, they have good games. I'd like to watch them, but they're on the ACC network and I can't get them on that. So I think it's a little bit of a screwy deal in respect, but it is what it is. Hopefully they'll get that fixed before too long with ESPN Plus. But Fisher, 3 RBIs on that. Chris Newstrom started and left. He had the other one. Tennessee threw a lot of pitchers. Again tonight, 9 pitchers. Thomas Crabtree, who I'm going to talk about here in a minute, got the win. Ryan Combs come in, got the save in the last 8. Dylan Loy started. Vitello was just throwing a lot of guys. Like Braden Krenzel got the start. And pretty surprising that he got out of that first inning with no runs because he threw 18 pitches and only 5 strikes. And he's looked really good up to this point, but he had 1 walk, 1 hit by pitch. He only faced 4 batters, though, and he got 2 flyouts out of it. So, the bottom line with it is he got out of it with no runs. That's all you can ask for in it, regardless of how the control was. And when we've seen him up to this point, he's had good control on it. I was happy to see him start. I think he's a guy who could still provide some solid relief later on down the line, but that's going to remain to be seen on it tonight. Austin Breedlove come in, pitched the 2nd inning, went 1 inning, 2 hits, had a strikeout. Braden Sharp through the third, 1 inning, gave up 1 run on it. 1 hit, 1 run, 4 batters, gave up 1 double on it, 2 ground outs. Thomas Crabtree then come in 3 1/3, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, 34 pitches, 24 strikes, 1.29 ERA. I'll tell you, of the JUCO guys, I've liked Breedlove and I've liked Thomas Crabtree so far. Not that I don't like the rest of them by any means, but these two to me are the two that have really stood out to me here. Brandon Arvidsson come in. He come in, in the 7th inning, 2/3 of an inning. He did have a wild pitch, but he had 1 strikeout on it, no runs. Hunley threw a 1/3 of an inning. Like I said, an error on it. He gave up a run. It was unearned. Michael Sharman come in 2/3. He allowed the run to score on it. Looks like he gave up an extra base hit on it and allowed it to score. Dylan Loy started the 9th. 1 batter faced, 3 pitches, 2 strikes. They pulled him out. Ryan Combs finished at 2/3, 2 ground outs, and that was the game. 7 pitches, 6 strikes. Pretty efficient outing for him as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do this weekend with the pitching, because I think at some point they've got to get serious about getting a Sunday starter in. I really do. Liam Doyle is going to start Friday. Marcus Phillips Saturday. Or, when they go to Thursday, Friday, Saturday games, it'll be Doyle to start the weekend, Phillips next, and then, the Sunday is the one that still remains. I'll be honest, I'm not even going to take a guess on it. I've been wrong every week that I've guessed on it. I have my opinion on who it should be, and I'm going Coons. That's who it should be. I think he's the guy who fits in to that the best, but, it remains to be seen. And a part of me wonders if they've not been kind of saving him for when they get to conference play, because I look at it, I compare it to 2022. Right out of the gate, you had Chase Burns, Chase Dolander, Drew Beam. That was your starting rotation pretty much the whole year, but it seemed like Burns and Beam both kind of tired out at the end of the year. Maybe, them being the freshmen, they overthrew them, because we didn't even see Beam in the NCAA tournament that year, and then we didn't see Burns till game 3 against Notre Dame in the Super Regional. So part of me wonders if that's not the plan right now, that they didn't want to wear Coons out early in the year. Of course, he battled an illness the first weekend, or we would have seen him more than we have now on it. But right now, the way I'm looking at it, I think it's going to be Doyle, and then Tanner Franklin comes behind him on Fridays. Franklin started Sunday, but I really think that was more because they only threw him 2/3 of an inning on Friday night. Doyle, Franklin, if they have to go anybody else, they will, kind of like the Oklahoma State game. You can bring Loy in, possibly. You can bring Sneed in as well. Saturday, Marcus Phillips. I'm still interested to see. To me, if Marcus Phillips' control stays where it's at, he's not going anywhere. I think he's got the stuff. The question with him has been his control. His control has been really good so far this year. Phillips keeps doing his thing. He's your Saturday guy, and I think he's followed up by Sneed. But they're not going to be able to get out of every conference game with just 2 pitchers every night. There's no way, because you're going to get into some probably slugfest along the way. They're playing too good of teams to not get into them at some point. I think they would like to go based on what we've seen. I don't know this. I'm going on just my observation. Phillips, Sneed, Saturday. But, again, I think Sneed and Loy, possibly Ryan Combs, are guys you could throw any night on the weekend and possibly bring them in midweek like you did with Combs to get the save tonight. That Sunday spot, I really think it's a combination of Coons, Arvidsson, no matter who starts, and then maybe it's from there, Combs, Sneed, somebody like that. I think that's where you're going to see it. Now, the way I've said it the whole time, I thought it would be April before we saw A.J. Russell. Really surprising he started a couple of weeks ago the way he did, but there's no issues. They're just taking it easy with him. They're being careful with him. He's still throwing bullpens. So there have been no setbacks. They're just, like I said, I'm really surprised they started him then. But now, I think it'll be later on. You may see him a little bit, and then they'll build up to the end of the season. But him being in his draft year, they're not going to overutilize him. They're not going to risk messing up his draft status. And, I respect that about him as well. So we'll see where they go on Sunday. Your lineup tonight. I'll try to wrap this up, try to cut it down quick. But Curley, Keelan, Inslee, Fisher, Clark, Chapman. That's pretty much your regular. Peebles caught. Newstrom started in left. Abernathy come in to replace him later on. Bargo started at third. Probably, will depend in conference play what they do on it. That first six is set. They're not going to mess with that. More times than not, you're going to see Peebles behind the plate. The average is not, he was 0 for 3 again tonight. I don't know at what point that becomes a concern, but he's a really good catcher. That's going to keep him in. We saw Cal Stark the last 2 years. Batting average, not all that. 2 years ago, it was under 200. Last year, it was around that, 210 mark the whole year. So Peebles, if he continues to command the game the way he does, him and Lawless, they're both good catchers. But I wonder at what point that it forces him to play Lawless a little bit more and maybe see what he can do in conference play against the big bats. That left field spot, I think, for the most part, is going to be Abernathy, but you could see Bargo. You can see Newstrom out there. I think they'll mix it up. They've talked about with Abernathy possibly. It could be a game where he doesn't start, and then he comes to pinch run later on. You've automatically got a weapon on base with his speed at that point. It's really not a bad philosophy, but I think more times than not, we're going to see him start, and that's been the case lately. And then third base, for the most part, I see it being Manny Marin along the way. But you could still see Bargo there. A question I have on it is if you're going to play Manny Marin, why not put him at short? He's better shortstop than Dean Curley is and put Curley at third. But they're not going to make that move, I think, unless, Curley's defense becomes a problem. It's not been that. He's had he had one game where he had a couple errors in it. My biggest thing, I think there's balls that other guys get to that he doesn't. I questioned it last year, you guys that listened to me then. It's like, I don't know where he's playing at here. And the other day against St. Bonaventure, when Coons gave up a run, it was a hit up the middle, and I felt like if that's Antigua or probably Marin, that's an out, and it ended up getting through for a base hit. I just think with his range, I think he's more suited for third base along the way. And a part of me wonders even if Keelan is a more rangy shortstop as well. But here's the thing. Curley was a shortstop on the national champion team. It's probably kind of hard to change. I get it. I totally get it with it. Because, he's still a good shortstop. But, that's going to be your lineup. I don't think anything changes on that. Your interchangeable positions. Looks to me like Fisher's kind of settling at first. Now, he could play some third and Bargo go to first. Because I don't see Levi Clark playing the field much. I think he's pretty much your DH this year, and then we'll see where it goes from there. He may play at some midweek, but I think for the most part, he is set in at DH every game at this point. You've got to have his bat in the lineup for sure. Everything third and left is going to be the two interchangeables. I think between Bargo's going to play some, Marin's going to play, Abernathy's going to play, Newstrom's probably going to play a little bit. Of course, Peebles, Lawless, I think that'll change a little bit. I don't think Peebles catches every single game. But it gets real this weekend. Florida comes to town. Last I seen, they're playing Florida State tonight. So they have a chance to put, if I'm not mistaken, Florida State's first loss on them. Let me check that here because I'm trying to remember if Florida State lost this past week or not. Florida State did not. No, they're still 15-0. I think it was North Carolina was the one that got knocked off last week. So Tennessee right now, you've got Tennessee, Florida State. As far as top 25 teams, according to D1 Baseball, they are the only two undefeated teams right now. Alabama lost the game. You got Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas, Clemson, all with just one loss. Georgia, one loss. Arkansas, one loss. LSU, one loss. D1 Baseball continues to keep LSU at 1-0 over an undefeated team who was national champs. Does not make sense to me, but it is what it is. Does not matter till the end of the year. A lot of stuff coming up this week. SEC tournament starts Friday. Tennessee plays around 3 o'clock give or take. It's going to depend on what happens in the game before them. They'll play either Texas A&M, Texas, or Vanderbilt. Tennessee does, in my opinion, still have a shot at that number 1 seed this weekend. But I think they're going to have to win the tournament to get it. And you know what? I look at it last year like with baseball. I didn't care going in. I started to care. I said, let's just win the whole thing, then go win the College World Series. Well, they did. I'm there with Tennessee basketball. Let's go win the SEC tournament in Nashville this weekend, and then let's go win the whole freaking thing in the NCAA tournament. Let's just do it all. Here, let's don't halfway do it. Let's go all the way and do it. Then be live rest of the way with basketball. I'm going to try to get some live baseball in this weekend as well. I'm going to try to pick the live game up. But I said it last time. I'll say it again. I'm going to promote the channel. This channel changed the game when we started doing live basketball, live baseball. Not much else to say on that. This is your place for live shows after. Come join the House of Orange Sports Channel. And last thing, 5 of you, at least 5 of you, hit that subscribe button to get to 3,000. Have a great rest of your day. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Go Vols.